you can own it, and you can also influence what's happening in any industry, whether it's banking or the legal profession or the entertainment industry. Your presence actually can make a difference. So what I want to talk about today are the 10 best straight-up financial tips you'll ever receive. Ever.
This is not boring.
And I usually bring a handout of this, but I actually have an assignment, especially for you young folks, is that if you go to our website, oneunited.com, you will find these tips. And so you don't have to take notes. They are there on the website, and you can use that as a way to educate yourself. How does this work? Listen. Okay, so here's my disclaimer. Although these tips that I'm going to give you can be supported by empirical data, the media stories that I'm going to talk about are simply being used for illustration. So what you, and I know there's a question about the Boston Globe, what you read in the media may not always be accurate. But I'm going to use some stories just to help you understand the tips. Starting with tip number 1. No one has as much money as they appear. So don't try to keep up with the Joneses or the Kardashians. I say this to all of you young people because it is very important when you look at, sort of people that are in the media, or even myself standing here today, you have to recognize that none of us have as much money as we appear. And to illustrate that point, who that? Mary J. Blige. Fabulous, right? I love Mary J. Blige. I remember her from 411. Okay, Mary J. Blige is facing a lot of financial difficulty, according to the media. She actually has homes that are being foreclosed on. A lot of the entertainers that you see, in fact, we have offices here in Boston as well as in Miami and Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, I run into a lot of entertainers, and I have some sense of their financials because we're a bank. And I will tell you that most of them do not have as much money as they appear to have. And you start to read about what's happening with some of them, whether it's bankruptcy or whether it's foreclosure. They actually have financial difficulty. So the key is to not try to spend a lot of money to keep up with the Joneses. I tell people that all you really need is a nice suit and a nice pair of shoes to look very wealthy. You don't need 10. Financial tip number 2. You don't need a lot of money to look successful. One nice suit and/or one dress and a good pair of shoes will do. We spend, as a community, the Black community spends a lot of money on stuff. And we need to think about how we're spending our money, because we don't need as much stuff as we buy. And to illustrate, does anybody know who that is?
DJ Who Kid.
DJ Who Kid. Does anybody know who that is? DJ Who Kid is actually a famous DJ on satellite radio. He has a great show that is sort of known in the hip-hop community. And DJ Who Kid did an interview with the New York Times. And he says, you know something? In the hip-hop community, I can only wear my clothes once. I go all around and I just leave my clothes in the hotel on the floor. Because in the hip-hop community, I use Instagram, and if people see me wearing the same thing twice on Instagram, they'll be like, what's going on? Why you got that on again? Now you think about that. There are billionaires that walk around looking all raggedy, you'd never even know they were billionaires. And then you got DJ Who kids saying, in our community, in the hip hop community, you can only wear things once. Something's wrong with that picture.
Amen.
So really, start to think about the stuff that you buy. Tip number 3. Yes, they are trying to take your money. They is everybody but your mom. Okay, sometimes even your mom. So negotiate everything. I will tell you this, no matter what. There are salespeople and there are people that are being sold to. We as a community are people that are being sold to. And they are selling us. They're doing their job. They are trying to sell us things. And some of those things are not good. Who do I have to illustrate that? Who's that? Neo. Neo is suing his manager for $4 million because his manager was supposed to be managing his money. Instead, he was taking his money. The gentleman, I'm sorry, I forgot your first name. Michael was talking about LeBron. LeBron is, in fact, incredibly successful. And you know what he did? He took his boys from growing up and he sent them to school to learn how to manage money. And they manage his money because he can trust them. So you have to be careful about who is managing your money because they are trying to take it. Next tip, number 4. If you touch it, you spend it. So don't touch all of it. I guarantee you, if it is in your pocket, you are going to spend it. That's just the way it is. Like, don't even try to think of anything else. In fact, anyone that's successful knows that. So they don't put it in their pocket. You sitting here saying, hey, I don't understand where my money went. If it was in your pocket. And when I say in your pocket, I mean in your pocket or on your card. You're going to spend it. An automatic direct deposit savings account or investment account is the only way to go. If it's taken out of your paycheck, whether it's put in your 401k, whether it's put in some savings account that you don't have access to on a daily basis, that's what you need to do in order to save. There is no other option. And who's that? I couldn't think of any celebrity, so I came up with this figure. Save that. Tip number 5. You need to take risks to achieve wealth. No risk, no reward is actually true. You have to take risks. That risk could be investing in the stock market. That's a risk. The risk could be buying a home. People used to think that wasn't risky. It is risky. That risk could be starting a business, a lemonade stand. In order to make money, you have to take risks. But you have to know you're taking the risk. Who's that?
Oprah.
Oprah.
A young
Oprah took significant risks when she left her day program and started her own company, OWN. OWN is a network that Oprah owns, and it's the Oprah Winfrey Network, OWN. And it was losing money, in fact, when she first started it. But now it's doing incredibly well, and she's making a lot of money. But she had to take a risk. These are some other people that you may or may not know. Ken Chenault, who was actually a mentor of mine at American Express, who I know personally took risks. Deborah Lee, who is the CEO of BET, who I actually went to school with, who I also know took risks. Shonda Rhimes, I don't know, but For those of you who know her, she is a director, owner, writer of Scandal as well as Grey's Anatomy. And she also, all of these people did not start with money. They did not start successfully, but they took risks. Number 6, you need savings to take risks. In order to take risks, you have to have something in your pocket. Even a lemonade stand. You got to get the money to buy the lemons. So, no matter how you want to succeed, you got to start with something, and you need savings. Financial tip number 7. You need a kitchen cabinet. Family and friends you trust to help you make better financial decisions. Trust being the most important. And I call it a kitchen cabinet because you need people to sit around the kitchen table that you can ask questions about what you're doing. Openly, fully. I really, believe we have a tendency to go into our little cocoon and sort of want to make the decisions ourselves. We go look at a house and decide we want to buy a house, and we talk to, maybe one person about it, as opposed to saying, okay, everybody, it's time for all of you, all the people I know that own homes, to come to my house and hear me out about this house I want to buy. I think of like my parents who saved up their money and bought a house. And once they bought the house, there's several things we learned about the house. One was that the basement flooded constantly. 2 is that the house had a blind driveway. So cars would, run around this corner, and basically we were at risk of getting hit. I mean, there were so many things wrong with the house that someone who had bought a house would have been able to look at the house and say, oh no, this is not a good decision. The fact that they have some sort of sump pump in the basement tells you that the house has a flooding problem. And you can see just by driving by that it had a blind driveway. So you might like the house, but its location and something's wrong here. So the idea is to have a kitchen cabinet, people that you trust to help you make good decisions. And who do I have for that? Who's that? Jay-Z and Beyonce. This is the best kitchen cabinet that anybody will ever have. These two are both talented, and they understand the importance of collaborating with each other to be successful.
Can I make a quick
Yeah.
comment? One, I love this. My sister's a Harvard Business School alum, so if you couldn't go to Chicago where I went, it's a great choice. But I think one of the things that's really important is to know that, the gentleman who just got engaged, money doesn't protect you from everything. They lost their first child. So realize Paul Newman had a son commit suicide. You got to save the money to let you do the things that you want to do and to protect you, so when you do have negative things happen, you can deal more effectively. But don't think it's going to save your life, but it allows you to do things that you can do.
Thank you. Thank you. That's absolutely true. And this is about money. It's not about all the other aspects of life. You're absolutely right. Number 8, you need courage to be an effective risk taker. Get as much information as you can to move forward, and then use your best judgment, knowing it will be scary at times. So as I mentioned, you have to take risks in order to be successful. Well, in order to take risks, you have to have courage. Now, young people say, well, what does that mean? What does courage mean? Courage means that when you move forward, you feel that those butterflies in your gut. You're scared. You don't know exactly. You're not sure. But you still have to move forward. I can tell you, anyone that's bought a home, you need courage to buy a home. Because you realize that you're signing your name on a mortgage, or you're buying some property, and it may not work out. When you start a business, you need courage to start a business. When you go to college, you need courage to go to college. A lot of young people go to college and then don't finish. It's hard. You need courage to move forward. And who do I have for that? Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry failed constantly before he became successful. He was homeless. He slept in his car. He had a play, because he started off actually doing plays, and nobody showed up. But he kept moving forward. And now he owns a studio. He's, an incredibly successful man. Tip number 9. You need to follow 3 plans at once, and only 3 plans. Because plans don't always work out. But you need to, if you don't focus, they will never work out. This is, I can't tell you how important this is. You have to have a plan A, B, and C. Your plan A, I have a job. And I'm just saying for my job. Your plan B, I have a hobby that maybe I can make some money with my hobby. So I'm going to do this on the weekend or at night or whatever I could. Your plan C, I'm also going to take money out of my bank account and put it in my 401k for retirement. I'm going to invest in the stock market. That's an example of a plan A, B, and C. You've got to have 3 plans, but not more than 3, because then you're just all over the place. Who's that? Michael Strahan. He's a great example of having multiple plans. Okay, he was a football player, right? Do you know that 70% of athletes are bankrupt 2 years after they stop playing? 70%. That's because they only had one plan. That was to be an athlete. My son is actually an athlete. He plays for BC football. And he's in the business school at BC. And we're like, you got to work hard academically, because this athletic may or may not work out. Michael Strahan played football, but he knew he needed a plan B and C. So now he got a daytime morning show. He's doing commercials. Multiple plans in order to be successful. Again, LeBron is a good example of that. Tip number 10, the last tip. Always remember, when you don't succeed, try again. This is a quote that I love. Success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. I can tell you, anyone that's been successful has failed multiple times. They've either been fired from a job, they've had a business that didn't work out, they messed up their credit, they had to rebuild their credit. There's so many ways in which people fail. But the key is to not let that failure turn you into depression and a sense of, it has something to do with my self-worth. It is not that. It's that in order to succeed, you're trying things, you're taking risks. And when you're taking risks, things don't always work out. But when they don't, get up and try again. And who do I have for that one? I can tell you some stories of things I have not succeeded. But I'm here and I keep moving forward. That's a nice picture, right? My bonus tip is to get busy. Whatever you're trying to do, young people, get busy. You are our future. Whatever you want to do, you can do. Just do it. That's my Any